Well, joining us now is another longtime friend of this show, the irrepressible Katie Hopkins. Katie, you were there in Washington for the Biden inauguration, the Potemkin parade where the virtual president who was elected by a virtual landslide was greeted by a virtual crowd of nobody. Apart from you, let's have a look.
So this here is Black Lives Matter Plaza. We're just in sight of the White House, and these guys are holding space. This is the day before the inauguration, and this is where they hope all their people will join them. And of course here, I imagine these guys will be allowed to do exactly what they want. These guys aren't seen as domestic terrorists. These guys will get a free pass because, of course, there's two types of policing here. There's 25,000 National Guard for anybody that's supporting Trump. And if you're these people, if you're Black Lives Matter, you get to paint a whole road. You get to have a disco protest. You get to have signs up saying Trump and bash the blue. Because if you're Black Lives Matter, you get to do this. If you're one of us, you get treated like a terrorist and a criminal, and you get the full 25,000 National Guard to bash you. This is the duality of policing that's going on, and I think this is exactly what a lot of patriots have a problem with.
Well, Katie Hopkins joins us now from London. Hi, Katie. How are you?
Hi, Rowan. I'm very good. It's good to be back with you and the team.
Well, it's great to see you, and you're in the same studio. I hope you got to meet Andy No a few seconds ago. What a great bloke, and you are equally brave. Now, tell us, you've just flown back into London. You were there in Washington. Give us your take on what on earth was going on. It's bizarre.
Absolutely. So I just landed back here into the UK where we are locked down like none other. I mean, this really would be Daniel Andrews' wet dream, just to completely crucify a nation. They were going to introduce electronic tags for people like me so that when we landed into the country, they could police us more closely. But yes, that inauguration, I wish you wouldn't call it that, Rowan, and stop using language incorrectly. You are the master of language after all. It was an installation of a very old man. And in many ways, Rowan, a bit like having maybe, you know, a third-hand washing machine installed. Like you have to handle it very carefully and you don't know when it's going to leak. I think that's very true of Biden as well.
Rita.
Main streets of Washington, D.C., because we've been given the impression that the whole Capitol's under siege and extremists could strike any moment and there'd be an insurrection or a coup.
Yes. And in fact, I think it was Chuck Schumer that accused our side of inciting an erection, which frankly, at my age, would be a very remarkable thing indeed. I was sharing my hotel, as it turns out, with a large number of the National Guard, which was very exciting, coming down in the elevator in the morning with them with their riot shields and me with my running gear on, dressed like a vegan. And, you know, I can tell you it was perfectly calm. It was perfectly delightful. And the media did their normal thing of doing every shot in front of military vehicles or men with weapons so that they could make it look frightening. And I spent a lot of time trying to show people, you can see it on my Instagram, actually, they're right outside the Hyatt Hotel. It's perfectly safe here. And I got you guys a present from the mall because, of course, there were no real people there. There were just flags. So, Rita and Rowan, I brought you some home.
Well, James, here's a perfect cue for James to ask for his prezi.
Now, I've got plenty of flags already, guys, but I want to ask about what's happening over there in London right now, Katie, and tell us about the lockdown. You mentioned this before. What is happening there, and specifically, what is happening with Boris Johnson, and why is he ramping this thing up to 11?
Well, it turns out, you know, I said that Boris Johnson was good news, right? I even asked him to marry me last time I saw him, and I totally rescind that offer. It turns out he's nothing more than a potato in a wig. Like, seriously, the potato in a wig has completely crucified my country. It's now, and I'm not joking, I know I'm a woman of humour, it is illegal to leave your home in the UK. I have elderly people telling me they wish they could get COVID so they could end their lives. We just lost a 12-year-old boy this week because he couldn't see a reason to keep on living. And it looks like the potato in a wig wants us locked down till after Easter. Not that anyone's allowed to talk about Easter anymore, of course, in this majority Muslim country. So actually things here are a nightmare. And so really it's time for us to all hold on to try and find the fun together and to keep mocking this. I walked down the street today behind some people and they had the yellow vests on with COVID support written on them. Supporting what? Supporting the narrative, I'm guessing.
Katie, I really do wish that Boris had taken up your offer and married you, or at least had an affair with you, instead of the Sheila he's had an affair with, a rampant kind of hardcore lefty greenie. He trotted out the phrase last week. Boris came out and said, well, there's nothing wrong with being woke. So we have the heir to Margaret Thatcher's party saying, well, there's nothing wrong with being a hardcore neo-Marxist left-winger, a greenie vegan ratbag. What do you think?
I think the potato in the wig needs to do one. At some point, someone got at him. Whatever they offered him, I don't know. Whatever they threatened with, I don't know. But he's gone straight to the playbook. It's all lockdown. It's all misery. It's collapse small businesses. It's make everybody dependent on the state, make the state in control of everybody. But the good news is that I spent time today with one gym owner who's trying to fight back. And I really do get the sense here that people are trying to fight back little by little. And I hope to be part of leading that charge. We just saw in Italy, Ia Apro, I am open. It is time for us all to work together to say no more lockdowns. We need to help people through this and we need to start opening up our country. And then we need to get rid of the potato in the wig. It's always the fat ones, isn't it? It's the fat ones that lock us down.
Rita.
Well, UK has had prolonged lockdowns and yet it has one of the worst death rates in the world, higher than the US, which everyone says is a disaster. So is there any correlation? Is there any research done to see actually if these lockdowns are having a good health impact, never mind what they're doing to the economy and to people's state of mind?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I don't think lockdowns work at all. I have literally, Rita, and you'll totally get this, I have smeared myself up against everyone and everything on all sides of the planet. Like, I was rubbing myself up against the National Guard. I've rubbed myself up against Black Lives Matter with my silly little hat on. They thought I was a feminazi. Who knew? I've really tried to get this damn thing, and I can't get it for toffee. I don't believe the numbers of deaths. I think that's just being fed to us. You go to any funeral director, they're not really doing much if you go and ask them. So I think, look, you know, I don't want to be a spoiler alert on life, but people always died. Like, that was the end point. And actually, old age was never that attractive. I don't believe the numbers. People have always died. They're just calling them COVID deaths. And I think many of us would be willing actually right now to sign a form saying, I don't want NHS treatment. I don't want anything to do with socialised healthcare. Let me die in the street, but for God's sake, let me live my life as free as I can be. And my message to Australians and my message to anybody out there who's still listening to this dozy old bat is live your life. Live, laugh, love, and be as free as you can possibly be.
James.
Is there any sense that, well, actually, when I asked about the National Guard, which you saw there in Washington, do you find it at all ironic that these guys are being brought out for this inauguration in D.C., but that 6 months ago you couldn't even talk about bringing them out to quell, you know, essentially insurrectionary protests in cities across the United States?
James, you're an exceptionally smart man. I've heard this from all of one person, yourself. But you're a smart man, but you're still using that word inauguration. We've got to use the word installation now. I spoke to the National Guard. I mean, they're darlings. Listen, they all have jobs, they have families, they have homes. One of the guys in the elevator that I tried to make a move on, he told me, oh, a week ago I was building a house and now I'm here. Like, they knew, they could see they were being used. It was a horrible use of good people's resources. And I can tell you this as well. You know what? We need each other to feel stuff, right? In order to feel emotion, you need people, you need love and hate and anger and rage and passion. But because DC was empty, apart from me and a couple of lesbians at Black Lives Matter, you couldn't feel anything. There was no feeling. It was numb. It was like having, you know, biblical relations with someone with very small genitalia. You couldn't feel anything. And that's a real problem. We need people to feel things. And I say, bring on the people, especially in my direction.
Katie Hopkins, thanks so much for coming back on to Outsiders. You never let us down. Thanks so much, Katie, and thanks for the flags.
I will wave you off.
And we'll speak to you soon. Thanks so much.